How do you help your clients come out of blame, self-blame, and guilt energy?
So that's a great question, and that takes a lot of time. And the first is awareness. So the first stage is awareness, being aware of the pattern, being aware of, what's your self-talk like? What's the voice inside like? Is it friendly? Is it blaming and shaming? And often it's not a very friendly voice. That's a pretty common experience across the board. Uh, Unless somebody, so usually when I ask people, like, oh, so what's your self talk like? Often it's not very friendly, not very nice. So we want to bring awareness to that so that we can choose differently. And, in yoga, we call those patterns samskaras. So it's that familiar groove of that blame, shame, negative self talk, self limiting beliefs. And science tells us that we can create new neural pathways. And so part of it is learning, helping people to stop putting energy on those old familiar grooves and start building new neural pathways. And so I usually use a combination of affirmations and visualization to help with creating sort of new things. And when we're built, part of it is also just really rebuilding our relationship with ourselves. So when we start to behave in ways that support us and have our best interests at heart, then we are building trust with ourselves and we know we can count on ourselves and we're going to be able to keep ourselves safe. And I'm not going to let myself down. I'm going to honor my commitments and live in integrity. And that's so, so important for us to learn those skills and know, you're the one you've been waiting for, and you need to come into a rock solid relationship with yourself. And that's what helps us change how we show up in our relationships with others.
Interesting. Thank you for saying that. Can a birth chart give you tools for healing? Like concrete tools that you have to do this in order to overcome this? Or do we have to figure it out ourselves?
I think it does because I think it's the going from the less healthy expression to the healthier expression. And you probably need a guide to help you understand that. And I mean, for some of us, like we don't even recognize that we're doing the less healthy expression. And if we're in denial, when I ask somebody, do you know this about yourself? And when they're like, no, no, and they're doing it, they're behaving in that way, I think, uh-oh, we've got really powerful denial here. But that's partly maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they're just don't they're not feeling comfortable, like, admitting it to me because we've just met. But, once we do that deeper dive, whether we do the deeper dive alone or with a guide to help us, yeah, I do believe that your chart is gonna give you a lot of insight for how you can do this effectively, because it is, to me, moving from the low road, the less healthy expression to the healthiest expression.
Do you need one time to read your chart, or do you need multiple sessions to read the full chart?
So, when I first meet somebody, when somebody first reaches out, I usually we do like a detailed dive and we sort of get the lay of the land. And that takes, about an hour. And that's just skimming the surface. I look at my own chart pretty much every day. And I could geek out and look at people's charts. I've had clients who connect with me and do quarterly readings. I have clients who usually touch base twice a year. I have some clients who I just speak to once a year. I've definitely had clients where I've done one reading and that's it, that they were curious. They don't want to engage with it on a longer term. It doesn't speak to them, but they found it helpful. Thanks very much. And we're done. And then I actually just did one the other day for a client where we mapped out all of 2026 month by month to say, this is what you're supported in. I mean, she already knew she had certain plans and then she had some other things. So she knew she had like certain trips planned. So we looked at, okay, is this going to work out well for you? And then she had other things that she's like, I think I want to do this. Can we? And I'm like, okay, this time will be good. This month will be good for this. So depending on what you want to do, how can you maximize the energy astrologically so that things are going to be more fluid.
I love this conversation so much.
Good. Me
How do
too.
cosmic cycles, thank you. How do cosmic cycles like moon phases or, retrograde mirror the internal phases that one is going through?
So the moon phases that's a great one. Like I think the moon, just tuning into the moon cycles is a really wonderful way for anyone to start to engage with cosmic energy and astrology. And it's noticing, like, how do I feel when the moon is in a particular zodiac sign? How do I feel when the moon is in a different phase? So right now, we're coming into a full moon on Sunday. So we can feel the energy building. And full moons are culmination energy, it's maximum illumination, so things are clear. I know for myself, like, I generally don't sleep all that well around a full moon. Like, my sleep tends to be I wake up a lot, it's very restless. And, we know, like, anecdotally and statistically speaking, we know, like, there's more trips to the ER, there's more issue. Like, I have all my friends who are teachers will text me and say, is there a full moon this week? And it's like, yes, there is. Okay, I could tell my kids are all crazy. They're all wild. So just noticing, like, the moon is such a beautiful one to connect with. And so for me, one of the things I do is I track the moon cycles and I pay attention to when the moon is in an air sign, which it is right now. It's more of a time for ideas and communication and connection. When the moon is in an earth sign, that's a time for me. Like, so whenever I have a job, like, I need to do my taxes, I need to do my accounting work, I need to do stuff that I just don't feel like doing most of the time, I will wait until the moon is in Capricorn or in Virgo and get it done then. Because I mean, Taurus is also an earthy moon, but doesn't want to take care of stuff like that quite as much. But so tapping into the energy of the moon is a really effective way to sort of live in harmony with the cosmic cycles. So I definitely use that. Did that answer your question?
It did. It
Okay.
did. Absolutely. Thank you.
And Mercury retrograde, that's a good one. So just a piece on that. I
Yes.
am careful about, like, I do back up everything, knowing Mercury retrograde tends to bring tech glitches, travel problems, issues with your vehicle, that kind of thing. I've traveled many, many times on Mercury retrograde. I have signed contracts on Mercury retrograde. I have had to buy tech on Mercury retrograde. So you can do all these things. You just need to make sure you are really, like, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, looking at the details carefully and taking your time. And in the the travel issues, I've had so many sort of glitches with travel on Mercury retrogrades, and you just laugh because it's such a literal astrology. You're just like, ah, okay, the joke's on me. It's that trickster energy.
Is there like a resource or somewhere that one can go on a daily basis to see what's going on? Because in common.
Yes, but you would need to understand how to read the astrology. So, if that's what you're looking for, then I would recommend downloading an app like the Chani app, or downloading an app like Time Passages, or any, CoStar is a popular one, because it's just going to tell you, here's what's happening in your chart. You plug in your birth details. It's going to give you some information about, I would recommend the Chani one first, because that, to me, uh, Chani has a lot of integrity. She has an empowered way of looking at an empowered but also realistic way of looking at your chart.
With double N?
Nope, CHANI.
Okay.
And so that will tell you, like, here's what's going on. Now, that being said, you can get a little bit obsessed about it. And for me, sometimes it's actually kind of liberating. Like, I just had something happen recently, a couple of weeks ago. I was looking at my solar return chart because I had glanced at it, but I was like, you know what? My birthday was like last year, and I still haven't really carefully looked at that chart to see what the sort of promises of the year. So let's take a look. So I'm going through that chart and I'm delineating it, which is sort of just doing all my due diligence, interpreting what's happening. And I realized that I had just had a really big shift, like a once in a 30-year shift. And I was like, Oh, so I then go back into my software and I try to figure out the day it happened, and it had happened on a Saturday a couple weeks ago. And I remember was like 5 days earlier, and I was like, "Oh, I was so exhausted that day." And I couldn't figure out why I was so tired. I was really like just I couldn't get off the couch, and that's really not my personality at all. And it was just so funny to know, yeah, no wonder I was exhausted because I was birthing this new thing into being and I had lost track of that. So I knew that was coming and I had lost sight of it. And so I get the point is that you can get really obsessed with, oh, this is coming. And sometimes it's better just to let things unfold because, there are transits that have happened in the past for me that were really hard or really difficult. And so whenever they're coming again, I could get a bit anxious about it. And I don't want to fear the astrology. So for me, sometimes forewarned is forearmed, but don't let it tip over into obsession. And there's also lots of times where, I've had similar things happen and nothing happened. So I have to remind myself, like, okay, yes, you did have this one bad thing happen this time, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a bad thing every single time.
So true.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a psychic and an astrologer?
Oh, a lot. So I don't consider myself psychic. I do consider myself intuitive. So when I first look at somebody's chart, I ask to be guided to the information that's most pressing for them. And so I have to hope then that my, abilities as an astrologer will show up in a way that's going to be supportive for the client. I know lots of psychics and their gifts are really, really different. They don't know anything about astrology because they haven't studied it. And so psychic is somebody who's really honed their intuitive gifts. Um, and so that they're able to, maybe tune into your energy. Many of the psychics I know are also mediums, so they're able to connect with beings who have passed, who are on the other side. And those beings often have lots of messages for us in life now, so they're able to tune into that. And a lot of psychics I know use divinatory tools like the tarot. And again, like the tarot is just a tool for them to, to me, I love the tarot. I work with the tarot every day for myself, but not for other clients. And that just gives me, I'm just asking, okay, help me to understand what energy is present today. How can I best work with it?
So you said you're intuitive and you ask for guidance. Who do you ask for guidance?
My angels, guides, spirits, and ancestors, God, goddess, creator, spirit, the universe, mother nature, whatever you want to call the power of love and creation, which is at the core of the universe.
Lovely, so lovely. What is a star seed?
That I don't know. That's more of a new age thing.
It
um,
is, right?
so I'm not exactly sure what a star seed is. That's not part of astrology. But I think it's the idea that, so we do know that we are all born of stardust, that, because that's the essence of creation of life on this planet is like originates with this dust of the stars that have exploded in the universe. So it's that whole thing that in your DNA you have stardust, which I think is kind of wild. So I'm guessing there's a connection with that star seed to that, but I don't know.
So, how can someone use astrology as a tool for self reflection rather than prediction?
So that's really the essence of the work that I do with clients is to really know yourself more deeply, understand the ways you might be contributing to painful patterns, and then work to let go of those old habits, learn new skills so you can show up differently. It's to me, it's just one of the most powerful, concise tools for self-awareness. And in fact, Carl Jung, who was, an amazing pioneer in the field of psychology, was also a massive astrology enthusiast. And he always read the charts for all of his clients.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How do you define spiritual alignment in everyday life beyond astrology?
So I think living spiritually aligned in a spiritually aligned way is living in integrity. And so it's that being true to yourself. And that actually is the essence of the zodiac sign of Virgo, which is the gift of being true to yourself. And so I think that if you allow that to be your guiding principle, then you are authentically expressed and you are living in alignment.
How do you know you are true to yourself when you are so conditioned by society and culture?
That's a great question. And I think the key there is to listen to your body, because your body knows the score. Your
Oh,
body knows the
yes.
truth. Yeah.
Wait. I have to take this in because this is so powerful. That's so true.
Yeah. And we spend so much time up in our heads.
Hmm. So true.
Yeah. So when we slow down and we are present and we are not rushing and we practice mindfulness and we are, you know, just doing one thing at a time and giving it our full devoted attention, then we can listen to what our body is saying. And our body is screaming. Like, so when we're out of integrity, our body is giving us a lot of like, nope, 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 danger, danger, danger. And, when we feel calm and peaceful and grounded, then we know we are in alignment because we are safe to express ourselves as we are.
Les Brown, you know Les Brown, I'm sure.
I don't think
Uh,
so.
Les Brown, Leslie Brown. He's a motivational speaker. He's young, inspiring, and
Mhm.
motivating. I was listening to one of his seminars, and he said something interesting. Why don't you quit your job? Your job makes you sick.
Mhm.
And that made me think. I'm like, wait, how does a job make somebody sick? And it can be the emotional burden, not physicality of it, the emotional burden of something that you don't want to do and you just have to do it, or you think that you have no other thing to do instead of doing that. You get sick,
Oh, yeah.
right? Going back to the fact that you just mentioned, listen to your body. So our bodies is screaming for
Mhm.
attention all the time, and we just pop in pills.
Yep.
So what if certain environments and certain circumstances just you walk into that situation and you just start like having all sort of physical symptoms? What does that tell you about
Well,
that kind?
I think you have to pay attention and, you have to trust what your body is telling you. And I mean, we can feel that way about jobs. We can feel that way about relationships. We can feel that way about our homes. And so, when your body is screaming and saying, then it's up to us to recognize that, acknowledge it, and then take action to make a change. Now, we don't have to change everything all at once. And I think that's what people get overwhelmed about. It's like, oh, well, okay, I've got to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everything's got to change. And I always say, no, no, just ask to be guided to the next right step. You don't need to fix it all. These are issues that have been brewing for years and maybe decades. And it's not going to be like, oh, and boom, overnight, everything's perfect. I have clients who are in their 20s. I have clients who are in their 90s. I have coaching clients in their 60s and 70s. And they're still doing the journey because they know, okay, I don't want to continue. I want to end this. And, I love that. And I think that's so brave and necessary. And it's very empowered to say, I'm never too old to change. I'm never too old to learn new skills. And we also can acknowledge it's going to take a while to undo this because this is my pattern that's been ongoing for decades. So it's still possible to change. It's just going to take, like, you're going to need to be tenacious and focused and really stick to, like, when you learn the new skills and apply them, you're going to have to be very consistent in showing up this new way.
And sometimes you can be surprised how fast you can heal after so many years of trauma.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
surprise
Well, you can
yourself
have
because
these big breakthroughs, right? Which is
yes, because your
incredible.
intent is set right.
Yes. Yeah.
How can you make important decisions when you're emotionally overwhelmed?
Well, I think that's an invitation not to make important decisions. So, to me, because when I'm emotionally overwhelmed, then everything seems a little bit foggy and unclear. And I'm unsure of myself because I feel so overwhelmed. And so, two things. A, to me, that's an invitation to pause and wait. And B, that's also an invitation to ask for help because sometimes we just don't have the capacity to take it on alone, and that's not a failure, that's not a weakness. It's acknowledging, this is just beyond my skill set and I need to get some help for this.
Mhm. Very well said.
Thank you.
Last but not least, I could speak with you forever.
Me too.
That's very kind of you. What does sovereignty mean to you?
Sovereignty. Sovereignty is that I am like the guide of my own soul and my body. And again, to me, it comes back to being true to myself and living in integrity. And so that is what, being sovereign is that. And so that is accepting that I I also am responsible. I'm able to respond to what happens outside of me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Naomi, this was a treat. Thank you so much. Very enlightening. I learned so much. I'm very curious about astrology now, even more than before.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you
I love
for all
that.
this.
It's such a
Yeah,
wonderful practice. So it was my delight to share it with you. Thank you. Thank
thank
you
you
for all
very
of
much.
your wonderful questions.
Thank you. Really appreciate your acknowledgement. Um,